Going from standard to fusion, it's time to do my favorite Synchro decks, based on its design and playstyle, because it's my personal opinion and this is going to be my own personal list. So go ahead and tell me down below which ones are your favorite Synchro heavy decks. And I said Synchro heavy decks, meaning the deck must focus heavily mainly on Synchro summoning and not any other summoning methods. I'm not saying they can't have any other summoning methods, it just mainly has to focus on the one summoning method, because nowadays most decks have link monsters due to Master Rule 4. And examples of Synchro heavy decks are basically like Synchrons, Red Dragon Archfiend, or even decks like Wind Witch where it has only one fusion monster as basically an upgrade to its main boss monster still will count. But many other decks don't really count if they're like hybrid methods like Blue Eyes nowadays where it's both Synchro and fusion. But in that, let's just begin with my personal list. On the bottom of my list, which is number 5, it's Tech Genius, the first Synchro deck that focuses around Excel Synchro. Obviously through Wonder Magician, and then we got the main boss of Blade Gunner, which can be evolved even further for Delta Excel Synchro for Hybrid Cannon with a Assault form as well. Overall, it's just a cool archetype that can even do a bunch of different type of Synchro summoning even through hand, and it's why I like this archetype. Number 4, Dragoonides. The main aspect I really like about Dragoonides is basically winged beasts equipping themselves with the dragon swords, and through that make a lot of combo plays where you can perform big Synchro summons where basically it is the Dragoonide monster equipping itself with the dragon sword, and the Synchros are basically winged beast dragon knights, and I just find that really awesome. And the dragon swords themselves have their own unique effects, which is also very cool as well. Overall, one of my favorite archetypes since release, but I haven't played the deck since. Number 3, Red Dragon Archfiend. Not only that it has its own Synchro engine based on resonators, but the main reason why I really like Red Dragon Archfiend, not only for its design, which basically focuses around nuking the field, but also the evolved forms that it has that requires multi-tuning. In fact, even Scar Wright has his own evolved form as well in the form of Tyrant, the ultimate dimension counterpart, which I also really like, and also the new ultimate form of Red Dragon Archfiend paralleling Quasar, the Supernova Dragon. I just find it overall awesome, but it doesn't really do much other than basically multi-tuning Synchro summon, and doesn't have the variety like the next few archetypes. In which number 2 is Blackwings. Not as cool as Red Dragon Archfiend in my opinion, but Blackwings has so many varieties of Synchro monsters, both Assault Blackwings along with the Blackwing Dragon, which I prefer the Blackwing Dragon method because the Blackwing Dragon method is basically absorbing the pain and inflicting it back to your opponent, and I really love how annoying it can get, especially with the Assault Dragon. But the Assault Blackwings are pretty cool too, being humanoid looking birds that could basically evolve even further. And I like how they treat themselves as tuners as well, going further Synchro summoning themselves. Also being the Dark Wing Beast is pretty awesome. And now before we go to number 1, honorable mentions. Super Heavy Samurai, mainly for the fact that you only play with monsters and it basically battles in defense, and also its evolved boss monsters being a train, and even Gongensuka itself. The Rose Dragons, because I like Black Rose Dragon, focusing around the plants as well, and I like how the evolved form of Bloody Rose Dragon basically is not as dangerous as the original Black Rose Dragon, but I just like how they actually made it. But I mainly put this as because of the plant deck. And finally, the Infernities, because the no cards in hand play style. I just find that a little interesting actually, and some of the boss monsters are cool as well, but not in the list because I find the ones in the list much better in my opinion. And finally to number 1, it's the Stardust Dragon with Synchron Warriors. Stardust Dragon being my favorite pro tag ace monster with a bunch of evolved forms like Shooting Star, Quasar, and many other forms. Combining that with the Synchron Warriors, which is also very awesome, technically part of the same archetype, and also you can put the Signer Dragons in the same deck as well now too, because there's synergy with it. And when I could run a whole group of monsters I love all together at one deck, it has to be my favorite one. So mainly number 1 because it has my favorite ace monsters and it can be all in one deck, and also the versatility of all the Synchro monsters that you can summon. So that's it for my top 5 favorite Synchro decks. What do you guys think of it? And how would you rank them, and what would you put in the list? I just gave you mine, so go ahead and tell me yours. And tell me what you guys think about the Synchro summoning method overall. Overall, I really like the method alongside Exceeds, and that still hasn't changed until this day. And now it's time to say goodbye for next time for Exceeds.